What's up guys, Intelitech Studios here, and welcome to the original Vacuum Saved, the show of acquiring and saving vacuum cleaners that by many other channels in this specific space has been emulated but never exceeded. This is the original Vacuum Saved, with yet another episode under the belt. Let's go. So, starting off with what we have in this particular video, we have a Eureka Airspeed, a Kirby Ultimate G Diamond Edition, which is a very interesting find, two small little Dirt Devil hand vacs, so the Dirt Devil Handy Zip and the Dirt Devil, what was this one called? Dirt Devil Power Reach, so very nice. We have a Shark Navigator Swivel Deluxe, I believe it's called, Swivel Pro, something to that effect. I forgot the exact name of this model off the top of my head. We have three green Bissells to round off this episode. We have the Bissell Powerlifter Super Light, which is a corded stick vacuum. Then we have two uprights, the Bissell Power Force Compact Turbo and the Bissell Power Force Helix Turbo Rewind. So, definitely a very nice selection of machines. So the question is, which one do we start with? Well, let's start off overall with the backstory. So for those of you who are familiar with my friend Justin, he's kind of the superhero of this series. He will often find these machines on curbs, in thrift stores, that sort of a thing. He'll have other people give them to him so he can then give them to me. And that's exactly what happened with this round of vacuums as well. So he had these ones built up for a while, and today he came over and dropped them off. And there we go. So, very, very nice. One other thing that's really cool about this Kirby is that this Kirby actually came with a bunch of attachments. One of those wands does have a crack in it, but it has two wands, a hose, a floor nozzle, a bunch of extra attachments, and a pretty much completely untouched shampoo system. So that is very, very nice. So the Kirby is complete. It'll be interesting to see why it was actually thrown out. And it's definitely an interesting find as well, because I've seen this exact machine in several different thrift stores in my area, yet every single thrift store wanted $150, $200 for this machine. So it's definitely good that I did not pay those prices, as I just acquired one for free. Now granted, it was obviously thrown out, so there must have been something wrong with it, but physically it looks okay, so I can't imagine there's anything all that wrong with it. So with that in mind, since I'm sure for many people this will be the most interesting find, let's go ahead and try this one first. So as far as looking at it, obviously there's no filters to show on this machine, but we can show off the bag and see what this is. In fact, I'm going to get a tripod real quick so I can set this down. Alright, so now we're going to check and see what this bag is like. Okay, we do have a bag in here. The fill tube is properly attached. I don't notice any holes. In fact, the inside of this is rather clean. So, no real issues with the bag, at least not upon first glance. So, there's that. As far as looking at the brush roll, I did put this in the neutral position. So if we look at the brush roll, I don't see a whole lot. The belt has good tension. There's not a lot of hair wrapped around the brush roll. There's not a lot that I see that immediately raises a red flag. Now this is model G7D. I don't see any serial information on that. I may show that in a later video if you want this. It has a service tag stick on it from some vacuum store that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what the issue with this machine exactly is. But we're going to power it on and find out. So we're going to move this back a little bit. Hopefully you guys enjoy this a little bit of a different style of Vacuum Saved. If not, please be sure to leave feedback. So we're going to remove this cord right here. And look at that, my shirt is matching the Kirby. Isn't that nice? Cord looks to be in good shape. No real issues with that I can immediately notice. Now, of course, there is the possibility this may power on when plugged in. I'm going to suspect this might have been thrown out either due to a clog of some kind or perhaps a busted fan. That's my initial assumption. So we're going to plug it in right now. Okay, so the vacuum sounds perfectly normal. There's not too much that stood out to me as an immediate red flag. Now, I am not that familiar with Kirby's. I haven't worked on very many of them. I haven't dealt in many of them. I haven't sold many of them. Kirby is definitely not my traditional avenue. My traditional avenue, at least up until very recently, was mostly budget machines. So if there's something that I'm missing, please be sure to leave it in the comments below. But so far, the thing that I'm assuming is the issue is that the second it touches the carpet, it tends to bog down. So while the fan I've ruled out as a possible problem, the possibility of it being a clog or a stretched out belt is definitely one that seems to be closer to the proper hypothesis, because the brush roll does turn. So it's not like it's turned off per se. It's not like it's in the off position, but it is still, you know, not perfect. It needs some work, but it's very, very minimal. It's the kind of thing where I can't imagine any shop that knows their salt wouldn't be able to get this sort of a service done, you know, for a modest price. Although maybe I am, you know, because again, Kirby's aren't my best in terms of experience, so maybe I'm oversimplifying it. The only issue I see with the cord is there is on the plug, there's a little chew mark on this. Perhaps a dog got a hold of it. You know, perhaps Pupper was trying to help out Mommy with cleaning and tried to unplug it for her once she was done, and in the process got a couple of bite marks in the cord. That's entirely feasible. So now that that Kirby is out of the way, we're gonna wrap it up and move on to the next machine. So given the dwindling amount of light, given the sort of a reduction in sun brightness, a porch light has been provided for your viewing pleasure. Apologies for any background noise, especially of a certain dog from a certain neighbor that I particularly would like to be quiet. Unfortunately, it appears that in my neighborhood, the classic trope is that the second I start recording a video outside, every possible noise, be it motorcycles, dogs, what have you, will instantly ensue, so hopefully you can forgive that discrepancy. So, next machine, a classic Eureka Airspeed. I think it's very interesting. You can definitely call this machine classic by now, given the fact that, well, it's one of those machines that you don't see as often anymore, but they're still more than common. So this was the original Eureka Airspeed, from, at least to my knowledge. This is certainly the most popular and most well-known example. Now, this particular one is, let's see, it's made in China, of course. If I can find the model number, which looks like I'll need to remove the cord for such a purpose, which obviously we'll need to do anyways. So that's to be expected. This one is model AS1000, which I could have sworn was similar to the Airspeed 1 that I had. Oh, that was AS2100. So this is the original Airspeed as opposed to the lightweight Airspeed, which was the green version that I had for a long time, as well as the Airspeed Exact Pet, which is the version that my landlord had, and I just recently gave back to him, and the Airspeed Exact Rewind, I believe it was called, which is the same color scheme as this, the orange color scheme, but again, a little bit more of a lightweight example. So this one, we're going to plug this in and see what it does. Okay, power switch is on. That will be turned off. Okay, so machine's plugged in. Obviously, we can hear some type of straining in the suction, which does make sense. So there is a very persistent smell coming from the unit, which has a resemblance to a combination of wet dog and also soggy Doritos. So at least that's what it smells like to me. So wet dog, soggy Doritos, not a very good combination, especially with Eureka. So yep, that's what we have here. A machine that otherwise works but is clearly in need of a service. So we're going to test out. Well, first off, this is on floors mode. We're going to move it over to tools mode. And let's see, is this wand just built in? Is there a way to actually, it appears so. See if we have suction. Okay, so the belt and the brush roll are working and spinning, but the actual machine has very lackluster suction. So that is one thing, is that the brush roll is working. I'm sure we can show that right there. Not too bad. I've definitely seen better, and I've definitely seen worse. So this machine is just a classic case of someone clogged it, didn't feel like putting in the work to fix it, and simply decided to throw it away and use it as an excuse to buy a new machine. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but nevertheless, that's the fate of many of these budget machines, and that's how they generally end up in my hands. So just a simple clog. You can actually see that there is a lot of dirt stuck up in the canister. Let's get this to focus, including in the actual intake. So no surprise this machine has no suction. It's entirely possible that the clog is just within this assembly itself and not within the hose, but we will find that out during the service video. So there's a little tab right here that we push, and that allows this filter to pop out. And yeah, that filter is definitely in need of a clean. This entire machine is entirely disgusting, as expected. Not necessarily as an insult towards the person who owned this machine, more so just towards their specific lack of maintenance of said machine. So, and also this little piece does not want to go on properly. There we go. So that will require a clean and a service, but otherwise the machine is very serviceable. There's not too many issues we're likely going to have with it. Just the most basic of repairs will get this machine back up and running. As far as attachments goes, it actually includes every attachment except for the turbo tool, which is unfortunate because the turbo tool that's in this color is the exact turbo tool I need, but that should be okay. That is definitely something that's not a big deal. If need be, I can get one from my local vacuum store in the exact color that this comes with. If for whatever reason I want to have this on the machine prior to selling it, which I will likely sell this one, but we'll see how that goes. So that's the original Eureka Airspeed, and we're going to see what the next machine looks like. Now hopefully this camera will stay in focus throughout the rest of this video. So that's the Eureka Airspeed. now we move on to another machine. What is the next victim going to be? How about, well, let's just go in order. This is a Bissell Power Force Turbo Helix Rewind. A machine that I'm very familiar with, as I actually own one of these. In fact, I own a brand new one that I still have never touched. And I own the pet version, which will be reviewed very soon, if not by the time you see this video. So, depending on how I decide to release this video. So, classic one of these. Very interesting to see. So, as far as what it has, this particular unit is, of course, the 1797 model. I know that from memory. This one was manufactured on the 202nd day of 2016. So, this is a relatively early example of one of these machines. So, it's been around for a while, if you can call 5 years a while. So, it does have a dusting brush, as you can see by it placed in the wrong spot, and that's all it has, which is funny, because usually this is the tool that goes missing first, but in this case, it has it, which is definitely nice, because I always need spares of these, because these are always the ones that go missing. So, missing the turbo brush, the crevice tool, and the extension wand, but funnily enough, does have a dusting brush, and you know what? I'll go ahead and put it back in its spot, even though it's not the correct spot, because it does kind of look nice there. So, that's the Power Force Helix Turbo Rewind. As far as looking at it, if we open this up and look at the filter, we can see that, well, there's a lot of bugs. We can see that the result is not very satisfactory. Very, very poor indeed. Definitely in need of a cleaning. In fact, that filter might actually be too far gone. Very rarely do I have to replace the pre-motor filters on these machines. It looks like this one may be the first. Or the first in a while, I should say. Not the first ever. Oh my gosh, dogs. Can you please stop it? Brush roll seems okay. There is a lot of fluff on the bottom of this. There's a lot of fluff on the bottom of this. And in the post-motor filter as well. So, based on all that, I'm going to assume that this machine is badly clogged. And as a result, it's just simply not picking anything up, despite the brush and the belt presumably being in okay condition. I would take a wild guess and say the belt's never been replaced on this machine, so it certainly probably needs a belt, but it is still functional. But, that being said, we won't know until we try it. The cord rewind is working just fine. No issues with it retracting. Although, like these machines typically do, the last, foot and a half or so of cord kind of need to be manually guided into the channel. Other than that, no issues. I don't see any real damage on the cord either, so we're going to plug it in right now and see what it does. Okay, did not prematurely turn on. So, now we're going to see what this does. Ooh. Well, that works just fine. So, I would dare say that works perfectly, given the condition that it's in. It works perfectly. Is it in good condition? No. But does it work perfectly? Yes. Motor sounds fine. Brush spins. Device has some suction. Obviously, it is drastically reduced as a result of that filter condition. But physically, this machine will clean up very nicely and will have no issues being fixed up and going off to a customer who wants it. So, Bissell Power Force Helix Turbo Rewind. Great shape, no real issues. Just needs a basic service and a few attachments, possibly, assuming people even care about the attachments, and it'll be good to go. And as far as this cord rewind, we can see it gets it all the way up until the last 1.5 feet, where if you step on it and kind of guide it back in, just kind of push it in, it'll go in just fine. Which is unfortunately normal for these machines. So that's not really a defect, just kind of a little annoyance. But hey, the cord rewind is not busted even after 5 years. This machine is still holding up. There's no broken pieces. There's nothing major out of the ordinary. The height adjustment's working. The brush roll's working. No real issues with anything with the machine. Just simply needs a good clean and refurb, possibly a set of attachments, and there you go. You have a great vacuum up and running. Now sure, not a great vacuum. It's certainly no, high-end one, but for the price, it'll work. So as a result of the various bugs and other issues with attempting to film outside at night, I've reluctantly moved the rest of the vacuum saved episode into the living room, where any potential dust and gross things spat out by these machines can end up in the airstream, which is something I very, very much like. No sarcasm whatsoever. So the question that remains is, what machine should I do next? And yeah, I'm wondering that myself. Well, maybe we'll just do the one that I just now tripped on. So, this monstrosity. Now, I've worked on an unpleasant number of these machines. Now, don't get me wrong. If you really need a machine that's as easy to move around, as easy to work with, and a little bit cheaper than its full-size counterpart, these little Bissells are, you could do much worse, for sure. So with that being said, let's see what's wrong with this little Power Force Compact Turbo. Now this is the first turbo version of this machine that I've gotten, and it might be the last too. But if we look at this, let's see, we've got a little nick in the cord right there, a little nick in the cord right there, not much else as far as the cord. Going into the machine, we see some nasty crap in the canister, a lot of dust on the machine. If we flip this up, let's see what that filter looks like. Definitely not going to be good. Yep, and it's caked with garbage, as I'd expect. So, not much there. We've got a little piece of a card or something in the little bendy intake piece. And looking down at the brush roll, we have what appears to be, well, potentially a clog. The brush roll spins okay. Not much issue as far as that. Belt seems okay. This high adjustment mechanism, though, is a bit odd as it's out of place. Seems like the kind of thing that wouldn't happen from use. That seems like someone replaced the belt on this and didn't put that back in place and decided to just toss the machine. But yeah, so it appears that this is simply not inside the little ridge that it needs to be in, which should be an easy fix. Obviously, that's preventing the machine from picking up much. Actually, well, depends on how far down the base is, because it does lift up depending on how you hold this. So, hose isn't on right. Hose is kinked in several spots. Not much to say there. Very nice thick coat of hair on the inside of that. Definitely nothing noteworthy. If we actually put this hose on properly. See, as usual, this clip over here is not the best. The actual handle clip is like broken almost, like the handle does not want to come out. This lever is basically seized on the locked position, which is definitely an interesting problem, but it also means that the handle actually feels nice and firm on the machine. So I guess you win some, you lose some. But anyways, let's make sure this is still in focus. Yep. And we're gonna go ahead and plug this in and see what kind of dust and disgusting garbage is spewed out into my house. Well, provided that we unbend the prong on the power cord, I guess. Oh. That does not want to plug in. There we go. Not the best as far as safety, but that's obviously not the machine's fault. Let's see what kind of gross stuff spews out of this. Okay. That power button's a bit stiff, but other than that, it works. Suction is non-existent, but it still managed to pick up some stuff, which explains why that brushful housing is full of junk, because that filter is so clogged up with stuff that it's struggling to pick anything else up, because the airflow is badly restricted, and you can tell also by the sound of the motor that it is also causing some strain in that regard as well. So, again, nothing major, just like the last few machines, just like the last few budget machines, I should clarify. Just a basic little clog from lack of maintenance. Again, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that I would not expect for something like this. So far, given the fact that I got this entire lot for free pending, because Justin basically gave me all these machines and said, if you want to pay me later on for them, that's fine. I just want them out of the way, so if you take them now, even if you don't give me anything for them right this second, that'd still be doing me a favor. So, yeah. So, I plan on giving him $60 for all these machines, mainly 40 for the machines. So, I plan on giving him $40 for all these machines, and then, 60 in total, since he helped me grab the other machines from the vacuum store in one of the last vacuum saved episodes. So I want to help him out with that. So there's that. And yeah, so that's that. Moving on. Alright, so the question is the next machine that we look at a Shark or a Bissell? You know what? Since it's in the frame already anyways, we might as well go ahead with the Shark. So, this Shark right here, a Shark Navigator Swivel Deluxe Professional, whatever the hell it's called. So, there is a lot of these machines out there, and I don't remember the name for this exact one off the top of my head. I believe it's Navigator Swivel Professional, right? Swivel, so like, not Swivel Pro, but Swivel Professional. Because this is like an older SKU of it, right? Because like certain brands, because this is the same as the normal Navigator Swivel Pro that I have, but it's the slightly older model because it has the smaller filter, that's not HEPA, and then it has the same like weird window on the head that the Navigator lift-away professional models have. So, but it's in the color of the Deluxe. Honestly, I like the blue. I mean, it's a shark, what do you expect? It's got a lot of paint scuffs on the front for whatever reason. So as far as looking at this filter, black with carbon dust, what else do we expect? Not much. The thing that annoys me is that this has the dusting brush, but the exact attachment that I needed from these machines was the little tiny crevice tool, because I don't have any of those in stock, and this one is missing the crevice tool. Because I do have shark crevice tools, but they're the slightly larger version that comes with the Navigator lift-away, whereas these dusting brushes are all the same for literally all the sharks. So, other than like color, or maybe like the connector is a bit different, but it still fits on everything, but it's like shaped differently. So, yeah, not much there. I don't see any cracks in the main hose. I don't see any cracks in the lower hose. These hoses have a large tendency to dry rot and crack with use. So no issues with that. This hose is also removable, which is nice. So unlike the other Swivel Pro that I have, you don't have to rip off the connector and then screw it in kind of a weird fashion. It just clicks in normally as it should, designed to be user replaceable. That's something that I like to see. So I'm gonna undo the cord on this. Again, for those asking, I don't know the stories behind these individual machines because these are all acquired at once. Most of these are curb finds. This one I believe may have belonged to Justin's brother, I think. And the Navigator Deluxe that I previously had, and I gave my friend Justin in exchange for that Swivel Pro, which is now in the vacuum upstairs. The cord on it is now entirely tangled up, or not tangled, like tore up badly from a puppy. So that machine will likely need a new cord. It'll be in the market for a new vacuum soon. I may very well be able to sell this one back. So once I give it a proper service, of course. So as far as the brush roll, very badly wound with hair. I don't know if you can even see that. Very badly wound with hair. As far as the cyclone assembly and dirt container, that is full of junk. This filter's nasty. Precisely what I would expect. If we open up the top of this, again, just like everything else, we have a very consistent theme of wet dog smell. This one is particularly bad. I am struggling not to gag while smelling this, and I can't imagine how bad it's going to be once we turn on the machine. I'm going to have to completely deodorize my entire house. But the show must go on. I put my health on the line for you guys, so. Okay. So let's see what this piece of crap does. Alright, so while this shark has unfortunately left dust on my floor, dander in the air, and hatred in my heart, this poor little blue guy will be refurbished just fine, and at the end, especially in this blue color, will look fabulous. So, with that in mind, this shark lives to see another day, and we will move on to the next machine. Done with the uprights, now into the stick vac and the little portables. So, next we have the Bissell Powerlifter Superlight with a cord, because a stick vac, this is a stick vac, and let alone a handheld style stick vac, has a cord for some reason. Well, There's a very weird power switch up here that is hard to see. It's right here that I'm not a fan of. Oh. So this thing sounds clogged, but otherwise works. I didn't notice any issues with the cord. So this is probably the most interesting machine here, even if it's not necessarily the most, well, it's the most interesting in terms of, you know, curiosity, not as much in terms of practicality. But 4.2 amps, this one's model number 1576W, and this one is manufactured on the 274th day of 2015. So this has been around for a while. Yeah, so looks like this portion clips off. This is a bit funky, so this button would make you think that this pops off, but it doesn't move, which is weird. Got a little filter button up here. Pops that off, get access to the filter, and that's what that looks like. It's a bit odd, not much of a filter, but that slides in right there, slides over like that, and snaps in. So yeah, very odd machine. But while it seems clogged, it does appear to work somewhat. So again, same story as the rest of these. Clog in the machine, filters need cleaned, has a very unpleasant smell, although this one's not as strong as some of the other machines. But overall, it'll certainly live to see another day. So far, everything in this video has been A-okay. Nothing has been, like, majorly too far gone. Other than this. This might have been too far gone out of the box, but we'll see. How well that goes, that'll be an interesting machine to review. But for now, we'll have to set that aside, and of course, we have to quite literally set it to the side, because there is no way to stand it up by itself. Because a machine that you still have to wind up and unwind the cord on, ruining any possibility of convenience, still is not capable of standing up on its own due to the weight of the machine being at the top where you hold it. I would say that's an unintelligent design choice, but who am I to judge the entire industry given everything seems to be going in the direction of that style of machine? Certainly say I'm not happy about it. So next we have these two adorable little Dirt Devil handhelds, one of which I actually already own, which would be this one. I actually already own one of these things, but it is very cute indeed. We'll go ahead and move the camera down, twist that over. I'm going to get a good look at these. So, cords are obviously tangled up with each other, but... So I guess we'll check out the handy zip first, which I believe is the correct name of it. That might have just been the name that it was in the UK. Ooh, now that I'm unwrapping this, the smell coming off of this machine that for some reason came off when I unwrapped the cord is incredible. So pet owners clearly were a fan of this particular machine. I'm not holding my breath. The brush roll on the bottom does appear to spin just fine. No issues with that. Again, just simply spinning the brush roll by hand leaves a very bad smell. There is some debris in the bag. Pull this off. I'm hoping they used actual bags and not just dumped everything into the outer bag, and I am wrong, unfortunately. We have debris in the outer bag. I know a lot of people use this that way, but that's just not the way to do it. It's a very, very poor way of using this machine, at least if you can help it. And frankly, if you can't help it, maybe just use a different machine and use this as a collectible. But obviously most consumers are not going to think about it that way. So, putting the bag back on, does clip on just fine. I expect a huge puff of dust whenever I turn this on, right in my face. We're going to make sure that this is in the off position. We're going to make sure that our extension cord is actually reaching. Nice old style plug. And we're going to see what happens when we turn on this poor thing. So how much you want to bet we're going to see a puff of dust? Alright, let's go. Okay, I didn't see anything. Now don't get me wrong, it still certainly puffed out a lot of dust, but the dust clearly was just below 0.5 microns, which that's the size that dust becomes visible to the naked eye. So, we're going to go ahead and try this. As usual, this machine works very well. These machines have always been very, very cute and very, very nice. So, classic made in USA, Royal Dirt Devil handbag. This one apparently went to Goodwill at some point, but has since ended up in my hands, and I'm glad that it has. The cord's in excellent shape, which is definitely one that I usually don't expect, given the fact that there's no proper cord storage on this unit. But the cord's great. The smell, actually, funnily enough, it's there when you don't turn it on, and it's there when you turn it off. I can smell it again. But when you're actually running the machine, you don't smell it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so that works just fine. It grooms the carpet nicely. You can even hear it, attaching itself to the carpet. Still grooms nicely. No complaints about this. Very adorable machine. I can't wait to do a review on this. Very quiet. There we go. So, now that's out of the way, we're going to look at the final hand vac. Make sure this is still recording so we're not losing footage. There we go. So the final machine in the lineup of this episode of Vacuum Saved comes from a Salvation Army. And this is the, this was $6. So yeah, this is the same price as my Eureka, the Whirlwind Electronic and the Bissell Total Force that we saw in the previous episode. So this particular machine is very interesting. It has a metal brush roll, metal plate, is bagless, but the interesting thing about this is the power reach. And one interesting feature about this is not only that it has a hose and a built-in crevice tool, which thankfully is not missing. I've noticed whenever tools have like a burrowing storage on the machine, they tend to not go missing. Because the kind of customers that would find these in the first place are the customers that wouldn't actually lose them. So, if that makes any sense. So, that's right back in there. One good feature, there's a little button right here you push. And then this entire front base, I forgot exactly how this is supposed to come off, but it's supposed to come off. There we go. It slides off, and the hose pops off too. So that way, if you want to use this to get into little nooks and crannies, you can do that. And we also have a hose right here, which apparently was not latched in properly. Perhaps that was a reason for it having been discarded. We can see if we... Actually, do I know how to put this back? There we go. You kind of lock it in. Just like that. And is this plugged in? It is not. So we can go ahead and plug this machine in. Just like that. There's even a little carrying handle right here, which is nice. We're going to go ahead and reassemble this. Slide that back on, snaps right into place. Just like that. Let's see if there's any date information on this. This is Royal. This one's made in China. This one is model 082545, excuse me. So 08245. Plant L. Manufacturing code is E04A. So this is 2004. What was this other one? This other one is L94B. So this one's from 1994. It still works. So, and this one's from 2004. So we got 10 years of Dirt Devil handhelds. Now we just need one from 2014 and one from, well, 3 years in the future. So, this one feels kind of plasticky, but we'll see how well this runs. Oh! Well, there had to be some machine that would dust me and christen me with dust before this video ended, and it turns out it was this one of all of them. So, yeah, exhaust is right there, as you can probably see. Kind of a scratchy noise. It's possible the filter on this is clogged. Although actually the filter looks very clean. So it could be, I believe there might be something wrong with this power head. Because the brush is not spinning. There's a lot of play in the brush roller as well. Something appears to be a bit off on this. So this one actually is the one that really needs the most work, which is surprising out of all these machines. Because all the other ones just need basic unclogs, basic filter cleans, basic belts. I don't think the Kirby would need anything other than a belt, but we will see. So yeah, so that's the final machine, the Dirt Devil Power Reach in this specific lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Vacuum Saved. I forgot the exact episode off the top of my head. Now there is another video from the Vacuum Save series, which will be the online edition of Vacuum Save, or I may call it the Quarantine edition, whichever one. That one will be filmed at around the same time as this, so it's entirely possible that you see this one first or you see that one first. It really depends. So it all just depends on how I decide to release this. I did film this one first, so maybe I'll release this one because it's the soonest, but this one has machines that I just got, whereas another one has machines that I've had for, in some cases, months. So it might be a little bit weird as far as the ordering, but, you know, if you're wondering why, you know, I have older machines in a potentially newer video, or, you know, whatever the reason might be, that is why. So yeah, so anyways, this was Intelitech Studios. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Vacuum Save. Let me know what your favorite machine was from this video in the comments below. Let me know what machines you want me to see fix up and do reviews on, etc., etc. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Vacuum Saved. Again, original series Vacuum Saved from Intelitech Studios. Plenty of other people may use the name, but this is the original. Now, obviously people are free to use whatever names they want, but just keep that in mind. This is the original, and the original Vacuum Saved. So, and that's it. So, this is Intelitech Studios signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Vacuum Saved. Have a good one. Peace.